Today is November 22nd. It's the 59th anniversary of the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Um, and I wanted to reflect upon a couple of things. First of all, I wanted to announce that I have published or republished my short story, Oswald Takes Aim, on my Substack page, and I will. You can see the link below to that, but it's andynowicki.substack.com. That's a short story that I wrote several years ago, and it was included in my collection, Lost Violent Souls. It was one of the 5 short stories that I published as part of that collection, initially with another publisher back in, I believe, 2013, but it was more recently published by my current publisher, Terror House Books. So that story is one that I wrote back when I still believed the official story of November 22nd, 1963, involving Oswald as the lone gunman. But it's a look at an alternative history if Oswald as the lone gunman, which again I don't believe that he was anymore. I don't know if he was even any kind of gunman at all, but in the story, he is the lone gunman, and he loses nerve, and the presidential motorcade moves on through Dealey Plaza. Nothing happens, and it's an examination of how history might have gone differently if the Kennedy assassination had never happened. So, if you can forgive my lack of enlightenment when I wrote the story, I forgive it in myself. I very generously forgive it in myself, because I still think it's a worthy story, even if I don't believe the take that I had about the event back then at that time that I wrote it. But I want to reflect also on the magic bullet theory, because, we've talked a lot, or I've talked a lot here on this channel about how I believe it is that the powers that be have to make it clear that what they're doing is bogus, that the argument that they're putting forth is unworthy of being believed, and they have to. I believe that they have to do this. I've said this several times before, and again, this is just my theory, but it's something that I think other people have talked about as well. It's my belief that the reason why they feel that they have to do this is that they have to make us all complicit in their crimes. So, for example, the example I've often given of September 11th, there's tons of things that one could say about September 11th where the pieces of the puzzle simply don't fit together. It all doesn't add up in any way. The official story doesn't add up in any sense whatsoever. But one of the more ridiculous things that was asserted about September 11th was that one of the terrorists' passports flew out of or fell out of an exploding plane as it crashed into one of the Twin Towers, and fell to the streets of New York, Lower Manhattan, and some FBI agent said, "What's this?" and came over and picked it up, and it was the terrorist passport, and that's how they identified the terrorists. The idea that the passport just magically passed through an exploding plane and fell to the streets below without being burnt to a crisp. There's no way any sensible person believes that, but they told us that, and they've never taken that back. And there's plenty of other things that, if you look at them, they just don't make any sense. They don't make any sense at all. And again, with an event like September 11th or any other event where they have orchestrated things a certain way and told us a certain story about what actually happened while concealing the truth from us. You look at other events, other high-profile events of the same sort, like one could say the assassination of John F. Kennedy back in 1963, and see that certain things just don't make sense. And the magic bullet theory is often discussed. Now, this magic bullet theory, you can find it talked about elsewhere. I don't know all the specifics of it, but it's the idea that the second bullet that was fired by the assassin from the Texas School Book Depository just did all of these ridiculous things. It hit Governor Connolly in a certain place, and then took a turn to the left, and then took a turn to the right, and hit Kennedy at a certain place, and then spun around or remained in air, and then went to hit him in a different place on his body. Just and then when it was found later, there was no sign of damage to it at all. It was called pristine. This is one of those things, and that was put forward by the Warren report as, what actually happened. And any sensible person can look at that. You don't even have to be a ballistics expert at all. You can just look at that as a layman and say, no, that didn't happen. So obviously didn't happen, just like the passport obviously didn't fly out of the plane and land on the street for an FBI agent to pick up and identify the terrorist on September 11th. And plenty of other things can also be added to the list of highly implausible to simply impossible events that were asserted to be factual by the recounters of the distributors, let's just say, of the official story, the official voices who were telling us what we should believe about what actually happened. So why do they do this? Why do they make up things like the magic bullet theory? They could have, with the resources that they have, they could have made it airtight. They could have really made us believe that that Kennedy was shot and killed by Lee Harvey Oswald, this loner communist, independent communist, 24-year-old who had lived this extraordinary life where he had defected, gone to Russia, married a Russian girl, had two children with her, and then managed to come back to the United States after having defected to Russia and renounced his citizenship, which just, the passage, everything was smoothed out for him in a way that just, again, strains credulity. But that's a more sort of sophisticated point, or a more subtle point that as far as these, implausibilities / impossibilities of the official story, as far as they go. But something like the magic bullet is just, it's something anybody can see is ridiculous. So why do they do it? They do it because they have to let us know that they are lying. Because they have to put us in a position where we should know better. And if we don't know better, or if we don't pay attention to these ridiculous stories, these anomalies in the official account, that's still no excuse, because they basically told us this is a lie. We're lying to you, and you still bought into it. You still believed it, and in that way, they made us complicit in their lie. And I again, it's my theory. It's sort of my cosmological or theological theorem concerning all of this. And I don't think I made this up. I think others have said something similar. But it's my belief that these people know that they can't, they wouldn't be able to get away with what they're getting away with if they didn't, in some way, render the story in such a manner that makes it impossible for people to see that they are lying. Because then we should know better. And if we don't know better, then that's on us, because it's out there in front of us, in our faces. And that's where, I've talked before about, we all have to, because we live under this evil and corrupt regime, principalities, powers, thrones, and dominions, the true rulers of this realm, because we live under such an evil and inhuman and cold-blooded, reptilian, psychopathic kind of these kinds of people, because we have to because we live under that kind of regime, and they lie to us, and we know that they've lied to us. We have to find ways, in our own way. Each of us needs to, work out our own salvation with fear and trembling. But for some of us, it might mean taking a kind of high-profile approach. For some of us, it might mean just doing something like not participating in their rituals, like I talked about, not voting. You may or may not agree with me about the not voting thing. I'm not saying everybody who votes is complicit in the system or has rendered themselves damnable or anything like that. I don't take that harsh kind of stand, I try not to be sanctimonious and self-righteous about it, because it's a difficult thing. It's something we all have to figure it out for ourselves. But again, just returning to the magic bullet. The magic bullet is, and again, if you haven't heard of it, if you don't know what it is, I encourage you to look it up. I haven't done a great job describing it here, because I don't know all the facts of it off the top of my head. I just know that hearing the account given, it makes it clear that it's obviously, manifestly not the truth. So that's the big lie, if you will. You hear a lot about the big lie. It's easier to get away with telling a big lie than a little one. It's an interesting subject that one could go into greater detail about in various ways. And I mean, I think one could even write a book about something like this. Probably books have been written about this whole phenomenon, this proclivity of the powers that shouldn't be to throw these little things in, these little details that show us that what they're telling us is absolutely not true, and we are fools if we believe it. So all this is just to share on this anniversary of the assassination of John F. Kennedy. So take it for whatever you think it's worth. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to y'all later.